Hey guys, Joe Miles here with Osseo Gear. This is the Mission Whitetail Podcast. We're going to be doing a deep dive into what it truly takes to kill these mature bucks. We're going to step outside the box and look at the why for gear, tactics, training, and more importantly, the mindset from over 35 years of chasing these magnificent animals all over North America. Thank you for following along and welcome to Mission Whitetail.
Welcome back to the Mission Whitetail Podcast, guys. It is November 15th. This is actually going to drop tomorrow, so Kevin's going to be up till the wee hours of the morning editing, which I like to see because his baby doesn't keep him up any. So it's good for him to have added nighttime work.
Yeah. What else is new?
Yeah. So a little stressful around the Osseo office right now. We've got our Black Friday sale going on, and it's going nuts. Man, you guys that support us, we really appreciate it. Never dreamed it would take off like this so fast. So just wanted to thank everybody for that. We're pulling at all seams right now to get these orders out, and this Black Friday sale has been incredible. So guys, thank y'all for that. Dive right in like normal. Kind of a season update. We touched on this a little bit on the last podcast about what we were up to, what we were doing. I'm going to hit on that a little bit more, Kevin, and then maybe you can dive into what you're up to. But so for me, it's been a little bit of a unique rut, and this will lead into a listener question that we got, which I thought was a really good question. So for me, I was after that buck in Kansas, and that was my plan. I was going to leave on Halloween or the day before Halloween, drive to Kansas, and then literally hunt him until Natalie told me I was getting a divorce or I killed him. That was my plan. And got lucky, things just lined up, and I was able to get him mid-October, which is unusual. So then I kind of had to punt, which is a great thing. It's a great problem to have. And this kind of maybe I'll walk through what I did when my rut plans shifted. I immediately started reaching out to contacts and friends to see what was going on, what everybody was doing, where people were hunting, if there was any availability for me to come and hunt some properties. You know, some guys were locked down on deer in Illinois, for example, and weren't going to be able to hunt their lease in Ohio. So I offered to, contribute to their lease payment and that sort of thing. And so I was able to get some places to hunt in the Midwest, and it had to be a little bit gentle, I guess, with the properties because they weren't mine. Mm-hmm. There were other people coming in later to hunt. So I had basically a 12-day window there when I could hunt. So I went in and was, not super aggressive. The first thing I did was obviously look at a map, looked at the aerial, looked at the topography, got on the phone with the guy that had hunted the property a lot and went through all the history of the property, what he thought, where he thought deer were bedding, where he had luck in the past. And the first thing I did when I drove in there was get up 5 cell cameras. I got them in funnels. I got them in pinch points. I got them on scrapes. I got them on trails. I kind of went through there knowing where I had planned on hanging a stand and hung cameras as I went. Mm-hmm. And I left on a Sunday morning, and I was hunting Sunday afternoon. I guess that was the 30th, so I was hunting the afternoon of the 30th. And as many of you guys know that are hunting, the first 7 days in the Midwest was awful. It was hot. The wind, there was days we had 40-mile-an-hour gust. And so I was seeing deer. I was seeing averaged about 2 bucks a day, 2-year-olds, a couple 3-year-olds, but the big deer I was after, trail cam pictures in the middle of the night. He was coming through the funnel. He was checking his scrapes, but it was all at dark. And eventually I ran out of time and did not capitalize up there. Maybe I was a little picky. I did see some one pretty nice buck that I could have shot, but I didn't. I wanted to hold out for the bigger one, which is, just the goal that was set. But, that was how I kind of shifted from my plan basically in a week-long period, was able to gain access and be able to hunt some good properties that, I had not planned on going. And what do I equate that to? Having a lot of feelers out there at all times and having built relationships over the years that are genuine relationships, not just I'll call you up right before hunting season, but ones that are really genuine and friendships with guys and developed new friendships. So that's kind of the season update for me now is I'm home. I'm in the office working, our butts off right now with everything we got going on at Osseo. And I'm going to hunt now some back at home. Our rut is still kind of wide open here at home. All my cameras at home are blowing up with chasing. I mean, it's blurry does and then a blurry buck picture. So they're running hard here. So I'm going to hunt here until Thanksgiving. And then really my next scheduled thing is down in Mexico the 5th of December when their rut gets going. Your turn, buddy. What you been up to?
Osseo. That's it. I've been packing orders, answering phone calls, emails.
Good customer service.
I mean, I've been taking care of them. But yeah, that's about it. And trying to hunt here and there on the weekend, but the deer on camera and finding them is few and far between right now. I think I put out some cams on some public land and moved some around a weekend or two ago, and I got to go check them. I got some good intel on the ones I checked. They told me where not to hunt because there's a little more pressure than I thought. But it's a work in progress, but it's kind of hard. We only got so much time. We've been really, really busy. And then I don't know if I'll be hunting out of state anymore this year. I don't know if we'll have time, but if I do, it might be Kentucky for late season. We'll see if I can get away. We get a little bit of a lull. We're selling out of a bunch of stuff, so y'all better hurry up and order it. And keep ordering it too, so I don't have to keep packing these orders right now.
Kevin, let's get back on to Mission Whitetail for a minute. You said you went to public and hung some cameras. Walk us through what you were looking for on public ground and where you hung these cameras, and did you put them way up in the air so they couldn't get stolen? I mean, we don't need GPS coordinates, but no. Kind of what were you looking for? So
at first I found what I thought was a good spot. It didn't have a whole lot of human sign, and I found a bunch of good scrapes and rubs, but after I hung cameras, I've got, just as many pictures of guys and people's dogs and things like that moving through there as I do deer. It seemed like I got a really good deer on camera, but I don't really know. He's got a huge thicket nearby with no open area, but it kind of connects to this new spot that I found. But anyway, I was riding the dirt road at first to kind of look for heavy trails crossing the road. That's kind of heavy deer trails. Yeah, deer trails, I'm sorry. And that's kind of where I find some of my starting points when I'm just kind of speed scouting. And when I was driving by this low area, it was a strip of hardwoods in like a creek/swamp bottom in the middle, cutting through a bunch of grown up pines. And I said, well, there's a good edge right there. And there was actually a gate in front of this pull-in, which I like because people can't just drive all over the place. So I got out and I started just sneaking down the edge of this creek looking for heavy crossings and any kind of sign. And right off the rip, I found some scrapes kind of on the high side. And but when I got toward the middle of that spot, I didn't find really much of any sign. There's plenty of deer trails, but at that swampy ground, it's hard to tell how old, those tracks and all were. And then I had a young deer just walk right up to me when I was sneaking through there. The leaves were wet, so it was easy to sneak through there. And I said, all right, well, I'll mark this on the map. And I kept on going, and I found probably the most rubs I've found on public or private. Just I found one's rub line, and there's some good rubs. So I put a camera on the low side near the creek on rubs, and he's got another trail on the high side of this little ridge that I hung cameras on. So I put them up about 10 foot high, and we'll see what's on them in the next week or so. Hopefully something good, because that one's a lot, that spot's set up a lot better for actually getting on something, sneaking in there and hunting them. You're not tearing through a ton of freaking cutovers where there's no trees to hang in.
So a gate to curtail public access, creek, some thicket, some hardwood, so you had edge.
Right.
You followed that up, and voila, like we talk about so much on those edges, you find scrapes, you go a little bit deeper, huge rub line. So on that edge is where you started dumping the cameras.
Yep.
So
there's a good rub line down in the bottom, not 10 yards from the creek, and then up this little ridge on the actual edge of these hardwoods and these pines. He had a rub line up there too that was fresh as well. So I put one on each side, and or each main trail, and it's been two weeks now, so I'll probably go check it maybe next week or this weekend and see what's on it. And I'll just go in there with all my gear and be ready just to set up, because I already marked a few trails and trees that I would want to get in if there was something on that camera. But there's some really good sign over there. I don't know how much. I did find some human tracks at the end of this spot in the mud, so I don't know how fresh they were, but I don't think there's too many people in there, but I guess those cameras will tell me.
So your plan, when you go back to check cameras, you're going to check and hang and go ahead and hunt, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, if something's good on it, I'm going to just hang right there. If it's nothing, I might just keep scouting with my gear on my back, but I'll be ready to hunt right there.
So you're going to take like a reader in there with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I got a little card reader that just hooks onto my phone, and I'll take extra cards. I'll probably even have a extra camera or two. I got a couple of cell cams. I might swap if something's good on there and I don't get a crack at it. I'll swap that regular cam out with the cell cam, and so I can get some live intel on them.
That's a really good point. If you're running both text and the regular SD card cameras, and you're casting your net broad, and then you get some stuff on a SD card standard camera, that's a very good point.
Yep.
To swap them out. So yeah, that's a really good point and good way to do it, I think.
Quick public land story. My buddy Cole went into a spot yesterday afternoon, not to kind of tout our gear, but he was wearing all Osseo, and he got in a spot where there weren't really any good trees, but he got in a clump of these small trees and just put his platform. He was wearing a saddle. He put his platform like 1.5 feet off the ground and just stood up on it. And shortly after, 2 does, literally walked right by him, and then a spike came walking by, and he just stopped right next to him. He said he could pet him, and it was on public land. He didn't even know he was there.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
And we got that footage from Joe Walker too. He's up in a triple trunk tree in Kansas and shoots a heck of a buck at 8 steps. And I mean, again, this is turning into a infomercial for Osseo, but the way that camo blended into those trees was insane.
Yep.
So you got one guy in South Carolina and one guy in Kansas. But anyway, let's go on into the listener question that we got. That we got it late. We did that on the last podcast, but let me. It's on my phone here. If I lost the guy's name. I don't have the guy's name. Sorry, buddy. Okay, if I can find the name, I'll get into it, but or I'll let y'all know. But the question is, it's a multi-question, and I'm going to read the whole thing off, and then we'll come back and attack it. It's talking about getting permission in other places. Which is, a lot of guys do that. We do that, and how do you go about it? But so this is how it starts off. If y'all were going on a permission-seeking trip 2+ hours from home, I'm assuming he means within 2 hours, because 2+ hours from home. So
I think he means the opposite. Like it's
further away than 2 hours.
It's a good little haul.
That's fine. We'll go that way with it. How would y'all go about finding a specific area to target? What would you do to prepare for the trip? What time of the year would you go to seek permission? And what days of the week, which is an interesting spin.
Yep.
And once you got permission, would you immediately scout the property or try to get as much permission in that area as you could? Thanks again, Joe, for taking time to answer my question. Okay, so first and foremost, how would you go about finding a specific area to target? You want to go?
Yeah, I would, I guess, figure out which state, obviously, that you'd want to target. Is that what he's asking, or is he asking like the terrain you want to hunt, or what? I don't.
I think let's look at it from a state and a terrain. Okay. So yeah, start with you got to go find somewhere to hunt tomorrow. Where are you going?
So obviously you want to go to a state that is not too terribly far, I guess, to drive to and has the biggest deer. So that would be for us, Kansas, Ohio, Kentucky. I'm sorry, both with a K. Yep. Ohio. And I would just look on the map and find the property owners in an area where look on some forums, Facebook pages where big deer are getting killed, where big deer grow, and then just kind of map out some spots and go knock on a couple doors or a bunch of doors. And I probably wouldn't do it during the season. I would do it like springtime or summertime.
Yeah, we'll hit that in a minute.
What was the rest of that first part?
You did good. How would y'all go about finding a specific area to target? Okay, so obviously, yes, Kentucky, Ohio would be the two. Even into you can be into the far east of Illinois in 8.5 hours.
Yeah.
So that's not terrible. I'm older. I'm 47. The door knocking thing is not something that I'm going to do a ton of, and it's simply because I've developed enough connections over the years that I have a leg up. There's no question about that. And so what I would do is, for example, I haven't hunted Illinois in I don't know, probably 4 years, and I really want to get back in there. So what I would do is I would call Adam Crumrin, who's lifelong friend, and say, Adam, I want to get into this area. He's a real estate agent out there. You know, here's what I'm looking for. Can you turn me on to the area? Do you have another realtor in that area? Do you know any land down there that may be for lease or that you can get in on? So regardless of what state that I'm going to, that's where I would start with my connections that I've already developed there. If that's in Kentucky, it would be starting with Craig. If it's in Ohio, it would be with Dan or Adam. So I would start with the connections that I already have there, because that's, first of all, those guys understand big deer. They're good hunters, and they kind of know where you need to be, and they're not going to send you on a wild goose chase. So that's giving you a huge leg up. If you don't have that, then you do have to start with the knocking on doors or, you know, talking to taxidermists. You know, that's another thing that we've hit on that before in one of the earlier podcasts, is talking to taxidermists. You know, that's a good way to do it, is to, you know, call them and say, where are your big deer coming from? You know, you look at a map of Illinois, and another thing to look at too, if you're trying to gain permission, if you're looking at like the town of, I don't know, let's use Ohio, around Columbus, and you're within 45 minutes of the town of Columbus, good luck.
Yeah.
Because it's so populated, everybody in Columbus is going to have most of that stuff locked up. So it's going to be very difficult. So get away from the bigger cities, because then you're going to have more of an opportunity, because for the weekend warrior, it's further for them to drive from these big cities. So that's a tip that you can use. Terrain-wise, I'm always looking for bedding, big hunks of timber to be close to. I like to try to have some of that on the property that I'm going to be hunting on, but I really want the fingers and the pinch points. Yeah. I am absolutely fine not you know, Don would argue with me here, and I understand that, but I'm absolutely fine not having the major bedding on me if I have the funnel and the pinch point that's connecting two things. I'm absolutely fine with having a 10-acre lease, but it connects to 200-acre blocks of timber.
Right.
That would be absolutely ideal, especially for rut hunting, which is, you know, when I would wait to go. So that's what I would be looking at. You know, if you're on a super tight budget, and you're just trying to get permission, kind of those, just look for those funnels and those small ditch banks even, you know, that have some timber on it that connect two big wood lots. That could be helpful. So I think that covers the first part of that question.
Another thing I would look for, not trying to give away too much secrets, but if you can find permission property within a good, you know, driving distance of a good bit of public too. That way, if you have something backfire or something like that, you always got, if you're in town, you took the week off and you can't get another week off, you're already out there, run over it and stomp around on some public. You might find something over there if it's in, you know, within a good driving distance.
That's a good point.
Good backup.
Okay, next part of the question, what will you do to prepare for the trip? I think we kind of already hit on that. I'm calling all my connections, trying to get realtors, you know, that sell recreational property. They might have some stuff for sale that you could do a lease on or get permission on up until it's sold. That's a gamble, obviously, because if it sells right before the season or during the season, you might have to be off of there. But that still is an opportunity. Ground, I've gotten plenty of ground that has been for sale and had it for 2 years and then lost it. So I would do that. And again, taxidermists, you can call taxidermists, you can call game wardens. You know, those are some guys that you can call. Co-ops, this is one that I never really want to talk about, but feed and seed stores and co-ops, because that's where all the landowners, come to either sell their seed or sell their grain. But yeah, you can call those guys. That's a really good tactic. Feed and seed stores, because a lot of the landowners are going in there. So I would run all those rabbits before I left.
Yeah, forestry guys are good too. They give you a good update on when the rut's hitting and things like that, and what's getting killed around there.
All right, let's hit this one, and then we got to reset. Right? What time of the year would you go to get permission, and what days of the week?
So I would go, like I was saying, probably late spring, early summer. And probably toward the end of the week, and I definitely hit my best spots, on like a Saturday or Sunday midday, because for sure they most likely will be home then. If you do it in the middle of the day or during the week, they might be at work or busy doing something, and you kind of become more of a annoyance than anything, if that's even a word.
Yeah. The door knocking thing is I get it, I understand it. Personally, I would try and find phone numbers and call them ahead of time and see if you could come and meet with them.
Yeah.
And actually just say, hey, my name's Joe Miles. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina. I'm addicted to whitetail bow hunting. I've got insurance, your whole spiel, whatever that may be. Is there a time this spring I could run out, or late winter, I could run out and meet with you and talk with you about possibly doing some hunting? It's much easier for somebody to say no over the telephone, but even if there's a glimmer of hope, I would still go and meet that guy. But if it's a hard no, I don't want to waste time.
Yeah. Another thing that'll help. Maybe not jump right into asking for permission to hunt. Maybe ask them to just walk the property and shed hunt first, and kind of gain their trust that you're going to be closing gates and taking care of not messing up the property, or offer to predator hunt or trap or something. That would maybe, instead of just jumping right into asking for permission, it's a longer play, but you might get spots, easier that way, where you get turned away otherwise.
And references,
right?
If you've got 3 or 4 properties you've got permission on, you've got really good landowners that you've created relationships with. It all goes back to relationships. I don't care what you're doing, but you go to a new landowner and say, hey, I've got permission on 1,000 acres, 100 acres, whatever it is, in Ohio. I know it's important. It's your land. You want it taken care of. I'd love for you to talk with my landowner there, and he can let you know how I've taken care of his spots. So that's another thing you can do. All right, and the final part of the question is, and once you get permission, would you immediately scout the property or try to get as much permission in that area as you could? For me, it would be all of the above. I don't think you can ever have enough property to hunt or have enough permission or enough access ever. But I would definitely, if Mr. Smith says, you know what, son, I like you, why don't you go on back there and knock yourself out and enjoy the hunting season? Just let me know when you're coming and going, but I'll give you permission to hunt. I am absolutely going in right then, immediately, to scout that place. I want to, first of all, then he's got some history with how I do open gates, close gates, how I drive around his property. He's comfortable, and he can give you some tips. They always it's so funny. It seems to be universal. And if we've got some farmers listening to this podcast, maybe y'all can explain it to me.
And give me a call if you got somewhere to.
Yeah, just kidding. It's universal. oh, I really don't know. I don't really know. And then you come in there after you killed one and you go, oh, yeah, that's the one I've been seeing for 4 or 5 years down there on that creek bank. He used to come through there every November. So they really do. They know their land like the back of their hand. And if you can get it out of them, they can give you a really big head start on where you need to be.
Yep.
Kevin, what about you? Would you keep digging as soon as he says, yes, you got permission? Would you scout, or would you go to his next door neighbor and say, hey, I just got permission from Mr. Smith. Can I hunt your land too? What would you do?
I would do the same thing that you said. He's already there. He said you can go on the property. I'd dive right in and start looking around, maybe, hang a cam or two. But if you already know he's there and you're not just showing up out of the blue again, startling him, or not startling him, but, just showing back up. He already said you could go, you may as well, and you're already there. You may as well go look around. Yep.
Time is limited, so you're
Right.
there driving off and having to come back.
Yeah, you never know. You might find an awesome sign and hang a cam, and there's a hammer on the property, and you don't even have to keep looking around as much. Go kill them if it's if it's that time of year. If it's early season, then go back and look around.
Or in the
some more.
spring when you go out.
That's what I mean.
Yep. All right, so I think that takes care of the listener question. Sorry, I deleted I cut the name off. I did a screenshot and I cut the name off. So sorry about that, buddy. But you'll know who you are.
Yeah, hope that helped.
This time of year, November 15th to Thanksgiving, you start getting into, or we are into, what everybody refers to as lockdown. And then when you get into Thanksgiving, it can be some of the best hunting of the rut, especially now that we've finally got some cold weather, and those big mature deer are out looking for those final does. And so that can be, they're always monsters that get killed right around Thanksgiving. The issue that I hear over and over and over during the rut is the mental side of the game. It is so hard for guys to stay mentally focused when they are not in the rut action. And what I mean by that is, you get in the wrong draw, you get in the wrong patch of timber, and it's not happening there, it can be completely dead. And how do you stay mentally focused? How do you stay in the game? What adjustments can you make to get in the game? That's another thing. Should I get down? Should I move? Should I go try and find a draw that's got deer in it? What should I do? Those are the questions that come up all the time. The mental side of it is, mine is probably really simple, and I'm able to just take this and run with it. Every minute that goes by that I'm hunting, I am 1 minute closer to my next kill or my next encounter.
Yep.
And so I don't look forward to sitting all day in the stand in the freezing cold and not seeing a deer, but I know for a fact I'm 1 day closer to killing that next giant, and that excites me. So maybe that's a juvenile way to look at it. But for me, that keeps me in the game all the time.
Yep.
Thinking I'm 1 minute closer, I'm an hour closer, to getting the next one. And it can be, man, the rut can be so frustrating. You sit there for 5, 6, 7 days. A lot of those sits daylight to dark. And all of a sudden, here comes a doe running Mach 4, and behind her is the buck you're after, and you're screaming at him to stop, and he does not break stride, and he comes right through that draw, right in range, and you can't stop him, and off he goes, and you don't see him again.
Yep, that happened to me.
Yeah, so I mean, that's part of hunting the rut, but it also can be the most exciting time, because if you are in that spot, and it's happening around you, and there's one doe, and she's kind of bebopping around through there, and there's 7 or 8 bucks after, it can be some of the most crazy, insane action of the year. And then the pre-rut, when they're cruising and the end of the rut when they're cruising, those are times that are just absolutely deadly to kill a big mature buck.
I agree.
I'm glad you agree. Do you have anything you want to add?
I think
to that?
My biggest thing, and it might hurt me sometimes, but it's just having the confidence in your spot. If you think you got to move, move. That's one thing. I mean, you can just burn up a spot and not be seeing anything, and literally right down the way you'd be, in a jam up spot. And that's happened to me before in Ohio. I was hunting this creek bottom, and you could just tell the action was dwindling down. There's does and young bucks, but I wasn't seeing what I wanted to see. And I literally moved probably less than 100 yards up on this ridge where I could see down into this other bottom, and I was kind of on this bench on the edge of this green. It was almost like a yard. It was just green grass. But that afternoon, I had a young buck come in, bedded down about 100 yards down in that bottom from me, and then I see him a half hour later looking into the thick stuff, and I see a big doe, and then just a freaking, he's at least 5. He's probably like a 150, 160, 10-year-old, 10 point, and just lumbering around. They're just walking in circles in this thick stuff. And then next thing you know, she's leading them straight to my tree, and I'm like, this is going to happen. And she stops, and he goes to breed her, and she just comes unglued, and they ran 10 yards right by me and never saw him again.
The rut. Remember the 8-point in Illinois?
Mm-hmm.
That was a 2-day ordeal.
Yep.
And he came by in range day 2, and the camera base was in the way, and I couldn't draw my bow. And it was no BS. It was 175 to 180 inch 8-point. We got the footage and pictures to show it. But so, that type deer, and that was what, 11 o'clock in the morning, 10:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm. It was mid-morning.
Mid-morning. So you got to go. It can be some of the most magical whitetail encounters that you can ever have as a hunter. Let's get back to the questions of that is, do you sit or do you move, right? Do you break it down and move? And I think there's 2 schools of thought there. If you were talking with Bobby Worthington, one of the most successful whitetail hunters on planet Earth, he would tell you to lock down in your proven funnel and spend the time with the right wind in that funnel, and eventually be persistent and stay after it, and eventually he's going to come through there. The deer's going to come through there.
Yep.
And I tend to personally lean that way because most of the properties that I hunt, I'm adamantly familiar with. Now, I just don't want to contradict myself. I just went and hunted 2 new properties, but that's kind of the exception. Like I'm going to work hard this off season to locate in these areas that I just got back from hunting, because they are dynamite as far as some giant deer being in there. Mm-hmm. Just riding around, talking with people, seeing these guys were just showing up with these bucks they killed last year, and the stories I was hearing about them showing up to apple piles 5 and 6 times and getting shot at 9 o'clock in the morning and then coming back. I was like, good gosh.
We're in a zoo.
So yeah, it's like a zoo. So I guess my point is this. I lean towards finding that proven funnel and sticking with it with the right access, right wind direction. A lot of guys throw all that out the window. They'll throw wind direction out the window. They'll throw access out the window because it's the rut and they're running and they're chasing, and anything can come from anywhere at any time.
You can throw wind direction out the window if you hunt in South Carolina, period, right now.
Why is that?
Did I talk about that on the last podcast, we had a northeast wind, and I said anything east, and Big Boy walked in from the wind was blowing southwest, and right before he hit the dang shooting lane,
Yes, you
smelled
did.
me. Anyway,
So the app was wrong again.
like 5 apps were wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what needs to be our next business, is figuring out how to get correct wind direction. So, again, 2 schools of thought: get in your funnel, stay in your funnel, stay persistent. I think Andre would argue, heck no, break down, move. If you're not in the action, you got to get in the game. And I like that too. I've definitely done that, where you need to be super mobile during the rut, even to the point where when you're scouting, I mean, it can be an all-day affair. I mean, you can get in there in the morning and hunt, break down at 9:30, 10, move a draw over, move a little ways, sit for 2 hours, break down, move again till you get into that action. And that's a really aggressive, good rut tactic. So those would kind of be the. I think it all depends on also the terrain, right? Like we've talked about so many times here in South Carolina, there are not a lot of those super terrain tight, big connecting funnels like you can get in Kansas, like you can get in Illinois. So for us here, probably a more aggressive tactic because they're rutting hard right now here.
Yep.
Is to be super mobile and to, don't go with the get in 30 minutes before daylight, hunt until 10, come out, come back at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, sit till dark, pack a sandwich.
I got to do that.
And get after it.
Work.
Get in there and hunt, from if it happens right off the rip, stay right there. If it doesn't happen off the rip, break it down, move, go to a different side of the property, go to a different area, go to a different farm. Keep hunting all day. The one common thing, whether you're hunting the rut funnel, a super tight pinch, or you're being aggressive, the bottom line is during the rut, you've got to be persistent. You got to stay mentally in the game by knowing your next opportunity is just right around the corner and staying positive. It's so easy to talk yourself into, I've been gone for 3 or 4 days. I need to go home and hang out with the wife and kid. That is important.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to touch that one with a 20-foot pole.
I ain't doing that.
That's because
Let's keep on going.
Mine's 19 and
Let's go
been married
on.
for 27 years, so I'm good. But you really, whether you're being super aggressive or you're sitting in your funnel, you've got to be persistent and you've got to stay in the woods as much as you can. And it's going to the 10 to 2 can be, especially on heavily pressured places, can be really, really good because what's happened? Most all the hunters are out of the woods by then.
Yep.
So persistence is key. Your next big one is right around the corner, and stay after it. This podcast is obviously going to launch tomorrow, so that's the 15th. And then our next one will be, kind of
16th, I think.
Oh, tomorrow's the 16th.
I think so.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, little man's 9 months today, so it's 16th tomorrow.
Yep. You are right. So when our next one comes on, the rut will be winding down. What do you got any plans for late season? I know we talked about this a little bit
If we
today.
if we get any lull in December, I'm hightailing it to. If there's a good cold front, I'm hightailing it to Kentucky. That's all I got.
What about Ohio?
Maybe Ohio. Well, we got to see if I can get away, old boy.
Well,
we got
January, Ohio goes until
that's,
February.
That is true. Then
Do y'all see this? He's seeing if he can get away. That's
Yeah.
that's a
Y'all-
statement
yeah.
and a question
Yeah.
all in the same.
Yeah,
that's
this
a statement.
This
and
is
a
the
question.
first you heard of this.
He's got a jerk for a boss. It's horrible. He's
No, I
such
think you're pretty lenient for as busy as we've been. It's just been so freaking busy, and I don't know. It's hard with I say it all the time. It's hard with the newborn too, to be away from him. He's he's starting to turn into a little Mockingbird mini me. So I got
that's
him
what
doing
the world needs. Is
Wolf of Wall Street.
genius going to corrupt him before he's won.
One other thing that I wanted to say, though, with the staying in the game, I know it's nice to have that reassurance, but don't just rely on the trail cameras. Like that spot I found the other day, I almost just set up. If I would have had a sandwich or something with me, I would have just sat there the rest of the day and just sat on the ground. I think I had like 2 sticks with me, and I had a lineman's rope to help me hang the cameras. I would have did that or just sat on the ground if I had to in that spot, but I wanted to keep on scouting, and it was a really warm day. But don't rely on the cameras. The other morning, it was a good cold morning, and I hunted this spot, and I saw 11 deer, and not one of them walked in front of the camera that was 15 yards from me.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have that reassurance, but this time of year, they're just freaking everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, that's absolutely right. I mean, your camera's covering call it a 30-yard by 10-yard wide swath, and they can, So that the bottom line, again, you got to be in the woods. Every chance you get this time of year, you got to stay mentally in it. You got to stay positive, and you got to be persistent.
Yep. What are you doing late season?
Late season, Mexico. I'm so excited about that. Why is that? Hola. Oh, my gosh.
Because it's Mexico.
Because, Mexico, I'm going down there with a group of buddies. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then probably going to hit Ohio in January. I want to get back up there and get on some beans, and have gotten invited back to the one property that I hunted. So I can go back there and hunt late season. So that's probably what I'm going to do is Mexico around the 5th of December when that rut starts up, and then late season Ohio. That's my plan. And then as soon as we get done with our late season stuff, we'll get right back into the testing of the new bows that are coming out and the new eras. We'll have the custom bow works going wide open. You'll be getting after it with that. You've already had quite a few guys.
We already got a bunch of guys. Just hit me up. You can. What was our help email on Osseo? You can email us on the Osseo page, or just message me on Instagram, and we can start kind of hashing out a plan to get you guys going. I'm really busy right now with the orders and all that, but once we get into the beginning of next year, we can definitely start knocking stuff out. But if Kevin_B_hunting, you can just message me on there.
Yeah, or you can email help@osseogear.com. All right, new bows. Matthews actually today, I know this is going to be airing tomorrow, but today launched their new bow, Phase 4. Have not had a chance to see it yet. Just read about it on the website like everybody else. Interesting, they've come up with what looks like a piece that goes between the split limbs that deadens things, and obviously we will definitely put that to the test with our decibel reader and see what it does speed-wise, performance-wise. Again, we don't have sponsors, and we want to shoot the best stuff we can. So excited. I think Hoyt's – I think we got mixed signals there. I think they're releasing a new bow on the 18th of November, but then you said also you thought the RX-7 was going to be their flagship. So.
Well, they're keeping that in their flagship lineup. I don't know if they're also going to come out with another carbon bow, or that's just going to be their flagship one, but I know they're keeping that again for 2023. And
we're definitely going to do Hoyt, Matthews again in our testing, but I think we're going to throw in PSE and Bowtech this year. Got a lot of requests for those. Again, we don't have a dog in the fight. If the Bowtech specs out better, feels good, and is quieter and more dynamically efficient, that's the bow that I will shoot. For me, it has been Matthews the last few years, but man, I was really, 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 really debating the Hoyt this year. The draw cycle was so nice. I should have started earlier. We should have started earlier with this testing because we didn't really get into that until almost August or July, and by then it was getting close to crunch time, and I don't like switching in the middle of the season. I'm kind of, I don't know, superstitious is the right thing, but I'm just comfortable with what I've got that I've been shooting all off season.
Right.
So that's kind of where we are, guys. Hope y'all are having luck with the rut and staying positive. I have seen quite a few big deer getting knocked down. We wish y'all all the best, and questions, comments, let us know, and we love to interact, and we love these questions.
Yeah, keep them up.
Yeah, that gives us kind of talking points. Next week we will have a guest on. Got a couple guys we'll be talking to, or the week after next when our next one launches, we'll have a guest on, and thinking about getting Dan Kaufman on. He's one of the guys that killed a 300-inch whitetail. You can believe that, and he actually hunted the thing. It wasn't a luck deal. He hunted the deer for quite a while, I think a couple years, so that'll be interesting. Got some other tech guys possibly to come on. So next episode will be a guest speaker or a guest of the show. And again, we appreciate it, guys. Good luck the rest of the rut, and that's it. We're signing out.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.